All right, thank you guys. Thank you guys for having us out to CRA. My name is Mark Matea. I invented this reusable yard debris bag, which I'll go over in a few minutes. But just kind of want to start off with kind of what the problem was. My background is actually in technology and database development. So what I understand is good data in is good data out. And that goes for compost and yard waste and organic material. So good stuff that goes in is good stuff that comes out. So the other premise was that forever since I've been a tiny kid, I've been raking leaves and it just never seems to end ever. And I don't think it ever will. So that's a big piece. So I just want to start off with a little shock and awe. I will let you digest this. This is props to Jeff Smithberger, by the way, for away. Away is, hey, yard waste guy, take my stuff away. This is in the city of Charlotte near the airport, which we will see the airport up there, tower. This is our tarmac, which is a staging area. This is from years ago, so we've changed this. So I'll kind of explain that after you see it. But this was the problem: is that people went into this pile, drove them out in vans with box cutters, and they cut every one of these bags open by hand, shook them out, put those bags into a bag. Then they scooped up the rest of this and then took it over to Mecklenburg County to be composted. So obviously we needed to get rid of this staging step. The other thing that happened is that they would rip the bags open at the street, which would slow them down. In the busy times, they just throw it into the truck and it ends up here. So they would do this for months and months and months. So we had to get away from that. Obviously, you guys know the problems with plastic bags. They fill up with water, they block the sidewalks. This is like one of my favorites. I actually saw this thing floating down the street, and this is in my front yard of my assistant's car. And this was basically a drain cork that was going to end up downstream eventually. And then this started actually filling up with water even more. So it got really, really heavy. And then that's when it would really pull down into the drain. So there's some cities that are allowing you to put it on the street, so that doesn't work really well. They have equipment that sits basically downtime for 9 months. Super noisy, dusty, slow to load them. You watch these guys. There's two guys raking, one guy holding the elephant trunk. So it's really just not efficient. This is a tip. This is on Queens Road West in Charlotte, North Carolina. This guy probably has two or three or four willow oaks, the city of trees, right? So as we get more trees, more mature trees, we have more of a problem. So rollout carts in this situation would never be feasible. Like you could see this next guy. This is 1 week. This is every week all winter. This is the other solution. This is actually in Charlotte. So somebody pushed it all to the curb, and I'm driving by this again on my street, and as you can see, when you say, "Hey, put everything on the street," we're going to come by eventually. They put it all on the street, runs down the storm drains, and if it's raining that day, guess what? The vacuum trucks can't work that day. This is a guy in Charlotte that was getting pretty close to using reusable containers, which I applaud him for. But these are all big and bulky, and then he's got to drag all this back to his house. So at least he's using reusable, but you can see the damage that was happening to him, and they're sort of limiting. This is a big problem with trash cans. So even if I turn them upside down, all these handles in here are going to collect water, and that's a big mosquito problem. So this is another purpose for my invention, which I'll get to in a minute. This is a guy, my neighbor across the street. The unrealistic, perfect yard waster putter outer. So this is 37 bags. So think about how long it took him to do that. And obviously he has OCD because look at every bag is perfectly wrapped, perfectly stacked evenly. And he put them all out here and then he's got his one brute garbage can over there. So I applaud him for this. He is now a Burrito customer. But this is very expensive, very time consuming. And this looks pretty. This is the reality. This one's falling into the sidewalk. They're filled with water. They fill up with water and fall over into a bike lane. So this is Scaly Bark Road in Charlotte. And this is their typical customer that's going to be putting out yard waste. All right, so then I started drilling down about the paper bags. We had a paper bag mandate in Charlotte. So then I said, okay, if I go out and buy a paper bag, well, I get a little plastic strap that comes with it. That's going right into one of those bags, most likely. And then I read the other one for the municipal bags that we were giving away, and I read it, and I said, wait a minute, this is recyclable paper, not recycled paper. So I was very confused. I was like, I thought they would be using recycled paper for a paper bag. So then I drilled down a little bit further. Then I found out that these are 2-ply. So then you don't always need 2-ply. Sometimes if it's wet and heavy, you do. But I'm thinking to myself, with a Kleenex, it just disappears into the water. If I run it underwater, it just goes away. If I put this underwater, all of a sudden I start getting rot and I start getting all kind of stuff. I'm not a chemist. I don't really know all the ins and outs of what makes a paper bag. I just know that they're really heavy. And if you tried to pick up a pallet of them by hand, they're going to be hundreds and hundreds of pounds. Something holds them together. That would be glues and inks and waxes. Something gives them waterproofing. And so whatever those are, they can possibly be natural. So I've heard soybean wax is a possibility, but how did the soybean wax get to the bag? That's a big planes, trains, and automobile uh, journey. This is what happened when we flipped away from plastic bags in Charlotte. Immediately, they basically said, well, if you're not going to pick up my plastic bags, well, then I'm just going to bury it in my yard waste or my recycle bin or my garbage can. So this is the problem if you don't give people choices and you just say, we're just not going to take your plastic bags. They'll try to trick you, as you guys know, and then they'll put more stuff in there. So this actually happened just recently. This happened because they don't have paper bags. Our product actually deals with sticks as well. All right, so my mantra, single-use anythings are bad. We all agree on that. So these are the current solutions we have now. So top part up here, talking about residents, right? So in my perspective, I am a resident, so I don't work for the city. I never have, so I work, for myself. But I would consider myself a customer of the city because I pay taxes, and then they come and take my yard waste. So if they like it, they're more prone to use it correctly. So right now we had street vacuum collections, which is the old way, and that it's unpredictable, like it says here. Dead in the rain, costly. The noise is unbelievable. The drain clogging, the street blocking. The rollout carts is kind of the next thing that people were saying, oh, well, let's just go to rollout carts. Well, it's not that easy. First of all, it's hugely expensive. The carts break, they get pounded back on the ground with the lifters, and then the lids crack off. And then the other bigger part is that I showed you a few pictures a while back before with all the black bags that were there. Well, I would need 8 carts for my house. I don't want 8 rollout carts, brown carts, because I don't have room for them. And as all of our properties get smaller and smaller, we don't have room to compost in the backyard. And I certainly don't want 2 or 3 or 4 rollout cans. And I don't want to have to take them down to the street, and I don't want to have to bring them back. So that's just another, it's a good solution. And then the extra leftovers. So there's some cities that do the rollout carts, but then if I go over that cart, now I'm putting something on the curb. Well, now somebody's getting out and picking up something anyway. So I'm going to get into good data in, good data out. So then the paper bag mandates, social media blew up in Charlotte. Everyone was upset. They're like, oh, another tax on us, another burden for me. I have to go out and I have to basically run out and buy paper bags. And so the analogy of running out of toilet paper constantly. I have to always go out and remember to make sure I'm supplied. I can't store them in my garage because they get filled with bugs, they get moisture, whatever it is. So that was just where I'm heading is giving people choices. If you decide to flip from your plastic bags over to different solutions, give them any and all choices. And so one other solution was that, hey, citizen, don't put anything on the street. That's a huge win for us, like as a solid waste division, right? But that's just not reality, especially when you have a small yard. You can't just mulch a willow oak tree because all that acid goes down into your ground and it kills your grass, kills all your shrubs and everything, and it collects bugs because you basically have piles of wet leaves. So you really can't just say self-compost. We can encourage that. You can actually compost a little bit in a burrito. So again, get to that. And then, so my starred one here is offer reusable containers, zero waste, and owner bought. The theme at this meeting is that everyone's got a minimal to no budget. Owner bought. So the resident buys their own product. All right. So this is the mountain. This was my aha moment. This was the tarp from Costco. Blue on one side, brown on the other. This is actually my front yard. I rolled it up. It looked like a burrito. So that was the first aha. The yard waste guys came down the street and I said, I'll help you throw this into the truck. Boom, 25 bags worth of leaves go into the truck with no plastic bag waste. I said, okay, well, if they can do that, why don't they take tarps? Well, this is the answer, because everyone's going to hog tie their tarp differently. So we needed the controlled container. This is going to fill up with water and it could be heavy. We don't know what could be in there, right? So, and then most importantly, this is going to blow back into the street and cause an accident. That's basically a parachute the way it's tied like that. This is the Leaf Burrito product where it starts off flat. So this is great for weeding. You can drag it around the yard, put anything in there, sticks. It's 5 feet long. This is a product right here in front of me. It stands up and it has a belly zipper on it. So the way the patent works is that it folds in toward the middle. You zip the belly, you zip the short sides. Then you can stand it up like that and continue to top load it further. And as you can see, it's porous and you can put anything in there. So you can put thorns in there, you can put rose bushes, you can put anything. This is me ergonomically carrying it. So it's got a back handle on it. So this is how a yard waste handler would be able to carry this over to the truck. Unzip and flip is our mantra. That is our only ask. Will you guys recognize a burrito? Don't drive past it. And will you agree to just curbside, unzip it, flip it, throw it back in the yard? It's got a patch on there with my address. So it'll say 2215 Hassel Place on it. That's a tote form, which is really great for elderly that don't necessarily want to use a 5-foot burrito. So they can use a weeding bag. It's got handles on the bottom, you shake it out. Super porous mesh, which I'm going to get to in a second. You can see that you can see through it right here. So that's huge. In a paper bag, there could be cans of paint in there, it could be glass, it could be diapers, it could be construction material. Anything could be in those paper bags that's concealed. This is key for HOAs. So this is Highland Creek. This is one of the 4,500 homes in Charlotte. And a lot of HOAs, especially new ones, want to be eco-friendly. And this is where it's going to be a big deal to be able to custom brand and have a good look and feel, because they don't want unattractive paper bags all over the neighborhood. I'm not saying that everybody would have to use a burrito. They could use a garbage can as well. This is the strength of it. So YKK is out of Georgia. So think of this as a boat canvas quality. And this, even if you cut this mesh, it won't continue to run. So 10+ year product. Super compact storage. This is a big deal for homeowners that don't have a lot of space. Zero water collection. So that's a big deal. No mosquitoes. In the rain, rain falls right through. If this was soaking wet leaves, it'll let itself fall through, and the only thing you're left with is that. No rotting. That's a big deal for composting. We don't want something that's been sitting in the sun at 100 degrees for 6 days coming over to the compost, because it's basically rotten material. How do they get them? They go to Lowe's. So your city says, we agree to curbside empty. We stock them up at Lowe's. They could buy them direct at leafburrito.com. So the cleanliness of the material going into the curb is key. What you're seeing go into the truck is critically important. And these are the guys basically emptying this, and you're able to unzip, flip, put it right back in the yard. And again, I may need 2 burritos. I might eat 3 burritos. I'm not saying I'm going to fix the world with 1 burrito. But this is how easy it is for these guys to just put this out there and throw it back. They will not blow back into the streets, even if you hit them with a backpack blower. Parks and Rec, super big deal. We all want to educate, right? So what we need to do is we need to have the city going in and talking about actually using these products on the greenways. They should definitely not be, they can set an example basically for the homeowners. Cool thing about this product is when it sits on the street, it's now out there for everybody else to relearn. So all of your neighbors are going to say, hey, what are you using? So it teaches reusability. And I'm almost out of time here, but I just kind of wanted to run through here and reiterate, zero commitment from the city. They buy them at will. I'm not saying you have to buy them. Will the people say, I think I like that better than a brute garbage can? That's fine. drill holes in your garbage can so the water flows out at least. And then a big thing, protecting storm drains and sidewalks. And again, we're trying to teach others. And then safer for the staff, the haulers, it's ergonomics. So think of picking up a 75-pound cardboard box with no handles versus a piece of luggage with 10 handles on it. That's the mentality of picking up a burrito. And then I do have one thing to show you from, this is a little demo that we did, just kind of showing you the ask. This was demonstrating what happens if they're heavy. So they gave us soaking wet leaves, which are wet because they're in plastic bags. They're not able to breathe. And then this is an example of just team lifting the burrito. There you go. All right. So then you go to the next one here. One more. And then this was just me talking to these guys just about how they would typically approach it on the street. So I'm obviously taking it, staging it as if it was on a curb. And so the first thing they're doing is they're walking up, they're looking into the bag, being able to see the material because it's porous. Like on this one, I can already see kind of what's in it, kind of gauge the weight of it. I can tell what's going on in there. And then you could either have one person picking this up on the back handle, or you can have two people, which is going to be crazy efficient team lifting with your legs. So that's huge. The other thing it protects you from is bees, snakes, poison ivy, thorn bushes. When they go to grab a bundle of yard waste, they're getting potentially hurt. They're getting swarmed with bees, rodents. Anything could be in there. Chipmunks, cats, you name it. And then we started talking to Compost Manufacturing Alliance. So this comes full circle of good data in is good data out. And they're leaning toward this, where don't put anything in the yard waste. No paper bags, no nothing. And of course, being able to see what goes in there so you don't allow people to conceal things. And so this is really just kind of talking about paper bags. I'm old enough to remember when we left paper bags to go to plastic film. Where did that go? Where was that whole study about how plastic film is better? And now all of a sudden we're going back to heavier paper bags by the billions for single use. At least with a paper bag at the grocery store, I can use it again. So we're really just kind of trying to bring light to, if you're going to shut down plastic bags in your community, at least give them examples of reusable containers as a starting point. And then say, hey, if you don't want to buy a reusable container, then we at least need you to use this. So and the other piece, I don't know if you guys know who New India is. New India is a paper mill plant that basically was emitting hydrogen sulfide gas across 4 counties, making craft paper. And there is a cost to make that paper bag stack. That does not just show up on doorsteps. I have to go drive to Lowe's to go get it, go to Home Depot, wherever else. So that's kind of what I'm just trying to bring to light, is obviously single-use anythings are bad. And I think the only other piece I wanted to talk about was, let's see here. This is the last slide. The purpose for us being here is to be global leaders. I am super proud to be able to have invented this in Charlotte, on my front yard, in my street, worked with the city of Charlotte, had a 7-footer, dropped it down to 5 feet, and they said that's more manageable. They agreed to curbside empty it. Now we're approved in Asheville, Concord, Matthews, and Charlotte, and potentially here in Tampa. So we're kind of going from one city to the other. But I feel like we can actually pioneer and revolutionize a yard debris solution or alternative. And of course, this is my flagship product, right? So maybe I'll end up with a barrel that is some kind of a Leaf Burrito barrel. But the idea is that we're getting started with teaching people, don't put anything that is not single use out there. So that is it. And then we just got some awards for a couple things for landscaping. We sell these internationally to landscapers. Residential models, 5 foot. We have a 7-foot one. And this is a good example right here, custom branding. So this is Duke University, and we sell to a bunch of universities. So they use these all of their cleanups in the university. And then on here it says, it says bleed blue, live green. So you can put a hashtag on there. And again, we're teaching students how to be sustainable. So inside out, again, Parks and Rec, landscapers, all the way down to the homeowner. So that is all I've got. And I think Robin's going to come up and then we're going to do questions like later on, I think. Thank you.